This week on Hermitcraft.
Hoffin, and they went crazy on this thing.
We interrupt your laughter at other people's expense to bring you this news flash.
Welcome to the Hermitcraft recap. My name is Pixelriffs. Our writer is LoyXP. Captions on this video were provided by Liara. And we would walk 5,000 miles. And we would walk 5,000 more, just to be the man who walked 10,000 miles to get back from the world border. If it takes just a few more months to walk back from the world border, at least flight technology will be slightly more available because they're adding frickin' rideable ghasts into the game, making them eligible for perhaps the first ever Nobel Prize for video games development. Technically the Peace Prize too, because the ghasts are happy now. In the meantime, there's more pressing questions to answer on the Hermitcraft server, like for example, is Zombie Cleo literally walking the 30 million blocks on the nether roof as we speak? It's more likely than you'd think. So without waiting for the Minecraft movie, let's take a look at the Minecraft TV series we've been binging for 59 weeks now. As the permit office resistance continues to swell in numbers, it feels apt to start this video with False Symmetry, who is still the holder of the Joker permit that our comments have been begging her to convert into a permit-giving permit or something like that. And no, she is instead full-on Team Poe. In fact, she converts the whole of neighborhood into Team Poe with a massive sign over the area's gates welcoming the permit enforcers. She even converts a smaller cave in a nearby hill into the Permit Office fan club that even features statues of Scar, Grian, Cubfan, and a life-size Skizzleman. Yes, his armor stand is the baby one.
Ignore the fact that the trousers do that, I don't quite know. That's just armor stand nonsense.
It feels pertinent to mention here that in the meantime, her Joker permit is actually technically an unused permit, so they could exile her before she gets a chance to Balatro the situation. Joel Smallish Beans, in the meantime, gets multiple outstanding permits despite having built all the shops. The trick is, those permits are not his, those are Grian's. Joel has somehow found the permits Grian lost, potentially somewhere in Grian's storage chests.
We're going to send him some mail, except it's going to be blackmail, and we're going to do this anonymously.
While Joel plans to ransom the papers, this might well blow up in his face, but good luck exiling him. The man has 4 different secret Enderpearl stasis chambers somewhere across his labyrinth of a base. Sure, directing someone to activate these might become a problem as well, but the skyscrapers of Magic Mountain have been getting more and more habitable by the minute. So maybe now that the floor is in, someone can actually help discover those. In the meantime, we can get a giggle out of watching him smash against that floor while building the tall inner walls for the elevator.
And we're going to do this. I placed that one wrong. Oh my gosh. I'm just giving up.
His neighbor Impulse SV takes a break from dropping himself from a great height to drop in on the Metro Mayhem progress being made by volunteer artists, which means he first gets a history lesson and parkour instructions from 2 simultaneous Joe Hillses.
We jammed out like the entire thing in 3 days. But it took like 2 months to get an hour that we were all available.
And then gets 227 levels subtracted from him by Doc M and Rendog.
Get him! So you're going to spend the rest of the season just standing inside of Metro Mayhem killing anybody who comes along or what? No.
He seems unbothered by that, perhaps because his concerns are with the players who've been getting yeeted into exile before they can work on the segments they've claimed. So Impulse says, fine, I'll do it myself, where it is the Season 3 portion. While it can't fully capture the sheer height of Season 3's amplified world, considering the whole course is underground, Impulse does build a jump arena inspired by season favourite minigame Boombox, pays tribute to the late great TFC by reconstructing his eyeball base, and decorates the wall with a mustachioed Shrek pixel art for good measure. The mural of the story is actually continued on the surface, where he and Smallish Beans play art critic to the graffitied perimeter wall of Pixel Pulse Valley.
I haven't seen
that
this.
might be changed to normal deep slate, and I will be a little bit richer at some point.
You have enough diamonds. You don't need them.
You've not seen my shops, Impulse. You've not seen my shops.
The server's population has found other ways to rebel. Joe Hills, for example, shows Vintage Beef how to get back from exile with an Enderpearl teleporter, and how to get to exile with just the Enderpearl. It's also they can actually meet up with the other half of Nopo and try to draw up a plan of action while reeling in a handful of salmon.
Yeah, there's a
Probably
show called
much
House
better
Hunters.
idea.
Maybe we could take a page out of their book and just apply the same methodology to beds.
As per the Nopo edict, Joe increases all the prices in his shops, destocks Cleo's entire book cafe, and laments the view of False Symmetry's new signage. Vintage Beef soon returns, and the two of them team up to hunt down Cubfan's Exile failsafes and then Cubfan himself, with the potential to blow the fireworks factory sky high in the process. They troll Skizzleman's base for potential respawn points, then move on to have a rummage in Scar's caboose. In the process, they swipe a handful of loose permits they found in a drawer somewhere and leave one heck of a booby trap in the permit office basement. We expected them to be a thorn in the Poe's side, we didn't expect the thorn to also explode.
I don't think I can charge the respawn anchor
Uh-oh.
without...
Oh goodness.
You know what? I'm not even going to try.
In the wake of the NoPo activity, Cub also installs a few defensive measures across his base, and after a trip to the Pale Garden does at least complicate a potential nighttime break-in with a system that summons creakings across his house. These of course are as dangerous to the owner as they are to the intruder, but it's not like Cub didn't also already build a miniature resin farm that also summons the tree monster without any visible limit.
So that's really cool. There should also be a second creaking around here somewhere, but if I just hit this guy a few more times...
Needless to say, he doesn't really treat the creature as the killing machine it is, which is understandable when he's decorating the fence around his Skulken biome with its bark. But just in case someone still makes it to Cub's own bed, he also has a timed Enderpearl stasis chamber rigged up that allows him to, for example, take a preset 4-day vacation to Exile.
You saw nothing! You saw nothing!
What are you doing here?
He won't be traveling there too happily though, now that Ijevin has announced him as exiling target number 1, and nowhere is safe. Well, nowhere 30 million blocks away from his house is safe. Most of the places still are. Though now that someone replaced the new Hermiton sign to one saying New Loserville, Jevin doubles down his efforts and even vandalizes the permit office of Exile further by converting the Wellness Center passage into a fall trap. It's not far, and there's cobweb at the bottom, so it's not much of a fall, which is actually a good thing because Jevin then accidentally triggers it on himself.
Sabotage!
The version 2, at least, has lava at the bottom.
They would never know the difference, honestly. They're not going to remember that type of stuff.
Still, you can't keep a good man down, at least not with cobwebs, and Jevin once again proves he's a good man by building a community iron farm for the new Hermiton citizens, then proves he's a questionable one by placing a creepy circle of fish heads on Azuma Void's shore with a sign saying, "Join us." Azuma himself is a confusing man too, though that comes with the territory for anyone trying to play both sides, so he always wins. In that he does help Popo murder Joe Hills the one time, to little result but a murdered Joe Hills, and then tries to help Ijevin murder Scar, to no result whatsoever.
You killed me!
I popped this totem and he ran.
Oh dear. I brought him over here. I destroyed his bed after he said his spawn.
Yeah.
As far as I knew. Apparently he said his spawn again anyway.
Azuma himself had better get used to getting a sword to the face because his latest skin change turns him into a wandering trader, and you know how this group of players treats those. To further his role as the contraband caravaner, X also builds up a smaller base, titled aptly X Isle, that indeed resembles his home in the spawn city.
I have a feeling that bone meal is going to be very valuable out here.
For some, Exile is becoming a way of life. Stripped of all responsibilities to the server's GUI center, and with Gigacorp presumably taking their time getting to the world border, Rendog has been surviving and thriving on his houseboat. But he's missing some of the modern conveniences, so he carves out an area for a no redstone just vibes auto-smelting setup, and having used the iron to smelt the iron, he now uses the charcoal to make the charcoal.
Very fervent use of it, because, you know, it took me quite a long time to create 66 hoppers. Takes a long time to make in vanilla Minecraft at the very beginning of the game.
He may not have been able to smelt his way to enough enchanting levels for a Silk Touch pickaxe, but at least there's plenty more fish to fall back on. Once in the pocket of Big Salmon, Skizzleman is now half as far as possible from the salmon figurehead of the Exile group, but he's still catching up to the more local chaos, like the fact that the Popo HQ has been turned into an end crystal shop, and that he's been given a massive hat. Perhaps he still had his chef head on when he decided to give players more food as they navigate his obstacle course of needs, and that may even be why the fox-focused tier of the pyramid ended up looking like a combination mushroom forest and dog agility course.
Level, this all, find yourself a fox, tame your fox, increase your family, and say hello to Tango, sizzle butt.
Of course, he swaps his chef's cap for the Popo headgear again to chase down Joe when he starts causing trouble, but perhaps they should have considered hard hats when exploding the TNT trap.
What?
No!
Respect!
Disrespect!
Sorry.
Some more productive redstone is introduced by XB Crafted, who produces a circuit that can switch on and off the beacons at his Trident PvP arena, as long as both teams can agree on which effects they're using. A set of levers inside the spawn point allows them to opt in to having strength and swiftness, but good luck getting this group of players to agree on anything. In fact, good luck getting a group of players at all, now that a handful of them have been flung laterally 30,000 kilometers.
I started putting this in there just to kind of, you were here for that. I don't know why I'm telling you about that.
However, DocM continues to prove that that's not nearly the problem it sounds like, as long as you have adequate time to prepare and a team of redstone geniuses number crunching all the mechanics for you. Their latest invention takes advantage of fired arrows still somehow knowing which direction the player is facing, and thanks to various contraptions that can fire wind charges and ender pearls, he can be warped into the nether if he looks down and into the end if he looks up. And, as always, owning a cat helps.
Now our Heaven and Hell system is active again, not the TP home station, because the cat helps us detect that.
Even if he is closer to his goal of not having to do anything, he still has to check out the exile camp to make sure they aren't exploiting more loopholes than he is. The conclusion is much more baffling, because it turns out they're using his crashed cargo ship as storage for their record collection.
Additionally, we would like to control everything that you do.
Okay, that's him mocking them. What?
And finally there's BOO, who finally has a new name for his new horse.
This is leprosy. Because it's what I hope you get for what you did to my other horses. Okay?
Joke's on you, B-dubs, it's armadillos who carry leprosy, and you can't ride them. At least he gets to revive his rabbit population, and the wardens didn't wait in the water long enough to get angry at the fish, because B-dubs landscapes the lagoon by his natural forest and sets up a fishing competition purely so he can have help acquiring a saddle for his latest steed. The winner gets trophy modeler Hoffin's latest masterpiece, a big mouth singing salmon. Seriously, what is it with the salmon this season? Why are salmon the zeitgeist? Either way, XP farms are also in the zeitgeist, and B-dubs manages to inflict even more pain on the Allays in the process of setting up his silverfish generator. He tries to multiply more of them to the sound of the only record he has.
Hi there, B-dubs.
Hi, Joel.
Joel here.
All right, so take this. Wait, I can't. Oh, because they're in the things? Uh-oh.
And that's about it for this week's recap. Our writer is LoyXP, and my name is Pixel Riffs. Captions on this video were provided by Liara. Don't forget to leave a like while you're still here, and subscribe so you won't miss future recaps. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.